to meet you too.
I've been doing this intro for so long, I should know when the thing is going to start, not to have a drink in my mouth, but it never fails.
Yeah.
First off, I want to apologize, Michelle. I thought you knew Tristan already. So that's why I was like,
I've never met him. I know of him. You know, everybody knows of Tristan, but I don't know him personally or anything.
Yeah, I would
see you.
I apologize for that. I was not very gentlemanly like. But
that's right. I'm used to
it. Used to those bad guys. Well, hey, you know, they say you guys never grow out of the bad boys. So it's true. It's true.
It's true. It's true. Welcome, everyone. Because y'all keep us young, you know?
Yeah, we got to keep you on your toes.
Chasing y'all around, you know?
Yeah. Well, eventually we go from motorcycle to scooter. We're still hot, right?
Well, you know, there's a time in your life when you get old enough to where it doesn't make any difference anymore, you know.
If you can make a little ramble ride and look sexy.
Yeah.
You did it right.
I know they call them chingaderas here, but we can hang some chingaderas on a bike there. Oh, get one of those Born to Be Wild tattoos on your arm that's just sagging. Wait, let's get to the show. Welcome, everyone, to the Wednesday Night Live show. I am your host, John Truncali. Down there is Michelle. Lindsey will be joining us. I'm sure she's doing something with her face. Timmy has house guests, so he won't be able to make it on here with us. And our special guest is Tristan Thompson. And he has been... where you been? Where you been, Tristan? You want to share that with everybody?
Yeah, I mean, I took a little hiatus because I had some serious health issues. You know, it was one of those things where it turned out stress was a major part of it. Yep. So I had to eliminate a lot of stress from my life as per, you know, logical doctor assumptions.
Yeah, I think we've all been down that road. I mean, I get myself to the point where it's just like, all right, why am I doing this? Why am I? And then I look over and I'm like, okay, I got to continue doing this and continue advocating and do my best and try not to immerse myself as much as I used to in the, you know, back in 2012 and 2013, where it was just, it felt like that was I got up in the morning and I'm thinking vape advocacy. I've gone to bed and I'm thinking vape advocacy, you know. So it's good that your health is more important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wasn't the best to myself either, physically either, you know, and they're like, oh, you got a doctor's appointment. Cancel, I'll go later.
Yeah, I hated that. I did that too.
Yeah.
That's a bad idea. You live, you learn, you know.
Yeah. Especially when you have one of those, especially when you have one of those dads that tells you that, you know, the more you stay away from the doctors, the longer you're going to live.
He drove himself to the hospital on all 4 of his heart attacks. I was like, yeah, right, dude. I'm not doing that.
My dad is, he would have been, what's the one before Boomers? That was Silent Generation, the Silent Generation. And I think I've seen my dad cry one time in my entire life. And that was when he had gallstones. You know,
that'll do it. That'll do it.
It was 2:30 in the morning, and I heard this scream from my parents' room, and my dad on the floor just tearing up and screaming, "Call an ambulance!"
My wife had one about yay big because she had her skiing accident that her gallbladder was removed. Turns out they can also get it in the ductwork. New fear unlocked, right? So she couldn't even walk to the car, so they had to ambulance her in. And by the time they got to the pre-op room, she was out. Passed out, couldn't take it anymore.
Passed out from
pain. That's just wild.
Yeah, and then they bring them and there's a little tube and you're going, that little thing killed you, Dad. And then when you get older, you start to realize when they zoom in and you look at them, they're all pointy and sharp.
Yeah, you're like, oh shit, that could happen to me. It's not funny now.
Maybe I won't drink so much soda.
Yeah, I gave that up. That was
drink more water.
Best thing they ever did.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get to have a little chat with Tristan. Hopefully, Lindsey jumps in here pretty soon. I got a DM from somebody. I don't know who it is. And no, it's not Lindsey. But I want to say hello to everybody out there in chat, and I'm going to scroll. I can't do it like Tim, guys. I can't go. No, I'm not going to do that. I see Curtis came in early. Curtis made me laugh. He's like, "Where's the show? Where's the show? Where's the show?" I told him, I said the show doesn't start till 6 p.m. And then he was having trouble with math, so I had posted a thing I found on YouTube, and it was time zones for students. So I downloaded that for him, and I sent it to him, a little YouTube video that explains the time zones in the United States for him. So he got that. So hello, Curtis. We got Robert out there. Jeff is out there. Who else? There's a bunch I know a lot of people just don't want to say hello in their chat. Say hello in the chat. James is out there. Jarvis. Microwave oven, and Mark, Robert Lowry. We're going to start the show, and I always start the show like this, Tristan. How is your week going?
Not bad. Can't complain.
Can't complain.
I really can't complain. The weather here for once has actually been nice. And I'll let you bring up the weather. No, I mean, from here for New Jersey, it's actually been relatively pleasant, which is wild for the entire week. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I saw some of the weather back east, and I was a little bit shocked by it. I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." But you guys really, from my experience of living there back in the 70s and late 70s, you guys don't start getting really crazy weather until January, February. That's when you don't want to be in Jersey.
Yeah, that's when shit hits the fan. Everybody thinks they can drive in the snow. They cannot.
No. Michelle, how's your week going, Michelle?
It's been busy. It's been very busy. Yep. Back to no sleep and the whole bit. Yep.
Yeah.
But I'm doing good.
Yeah, me too. That's my Friday. I'm gonna get tonight done. I work nights. Everybody knows that. They always make fun of me because I get to start the show late sometimes because I oversleep. But hey, give me a break, man. Give me a break. You gotta do what I gotta do. Tristan, let's talk a little bit about Vapor Alliance.
Yeah, thank you.
What do you got? Yeah.
So we're at the point where we're rebuilding the org because it needs to be rebuilt as a 501c4. Most of the paperwork is done already. I just had to get a couple board votes in, positions appointed and stuff like that, and then we're going to be good to go. Currently, we are trying to direct people onto Truth Social because it turns out you don't need that many people to dominate the trending section. So if we want to get Trump's attention, we get like 250 people hammering the same 3 hashtags. Oh, we're going to own it. We could own potentially 3 spots. It'd be crazy. So we'd have no choice but to acknowledge it, especially when it's happening over and over and over again, which we are prone to do.
When you're on Truth Social, and you got the 2 platforms, of course, you have the Truth Social and X. Do you feel you're getting a more of an audience that you're not getting on X? Do you feel like that audience that is on X is, would you say, a little more educated in the vaping industry and what's going on compared to what's going on with X? They still get those people that are confused. They still say popcorn lungs, hair loss, AD, all this other nonsense. But how do you feel that the 2 different platforms have worked out for United Vapors Alliance?
So Twitter was an integral part in the 2019 effort because it was they didn't know what to do with it. We vote was everywhere. We were taking over live feeds all over the place. So it's pretty well seasoned because most people have seen it in the circle and had to deal with it. And the people that weren't ready for it, well, they know now, right? But Truth is just like Twitter if it was like fresh. You know what I mean? Like there's a bunch of minds there that we get to indulge in and get them to see things from our perspective. Because I represented there very much at all.
Yeah, I mean, I argue about it. I posted something a couple of weeks ago, and just about being in this echo chamber, and just sharing our thoughts with just ourselves. You can't help but look at the likes and see the number. It says viewed by 150, 200 people, but you're seeing the same likes, the same people, and I felt like, okay, how do we get past that? How do we get our message out there? How do we get, have a video? I can't remember. I think one post, and I don't know who it was, and I was supposed to research that before the show today, but that actually was that took off and was viral on Twitter at the time, and it was vape related. And I can't remember what it was, but it was one that hit 1 million. And I've never seen anything like that ever again, and it just makes me angry, because it's just like, yeah, it's great, we're sharing this information with each other, but how do we get that message to other people?
So what I have found, like with Facebook, for example, right? It's last comment wins, and I will always be the last comment, because A, keeps the post bumped. B, it's not about me winning the argument; it's about people that are watching it transpire. So that information gets out, right? But that being said, with Truth and X, it's literally the same thing, because the more active a post is, the further up that algorithm it goes, especially when it's like multiple comments of people just like dragging each other. Like an argument in that, and like a post is like the best thing that could ever happen to it, because it'll push it further up. There was actually a post that I made back, I think it was in like 2018, before we even had the idea of doing a rally, where I sparred the Surgeon General and beat his brakes off, because he was just lying, just blatantly lying. And that was a good time. That was a good time. That's like a pride and joy crowning achievement right there. The rally's nice, but I had a doctor trying to spin some bullshit on me, and I fed it to him, and he was like, well, we're just going to have to agree to disagree. I was like, no, we're not. No, we're not. You're wrong. You're factually wrong. And you're morally wrong. I don't have to do none of that. I ain't going to do it. But
I've done that with doctors. Yeah,
so
you have to.
Right?
You have to.
I shut him down that way. And I find that those kind of interactions, when you have instances like that, where not only are you now front and center on the people that are politically tuned in, right? But the people that aren't really tuned in will see something like that on their feed if they go to look him up to give him business for something else, and seeing him get consumed by some random dude with a beard. They read the post. And that's how you break out of that echo chamber, is to be confrontational. I personally, and I know a lot of people look at me and facepalm when I say this, I think the era of trying to be nice about it is over.
It's gone.
But
it's gone.
It has to be. Like the whole mindset.
They're not being nice, and they haven't from the very beginning. No. And we have really made sure to tell everybody, you can't win a war unless you're nice. You've got to tell them and explain to them how it's going to work, and how what the problem is and what it isn't. And
correct.
People
just do that. They want to point fingers and scream, and I'm like, that's not how you win this the political way.
You can't be nice with a finger in your face anymore.
Right,
it's time.
No.
It's done.
To make that worse, right? You got to find that balance, right? When people, I try to explain to when you're in UVA, you're politically homeless, right? My politics don't matter. Nobody's matters, because you're using that power you have, the power to vote, right, to get these people to do what you want. If you're just going to scream at them and post memes mocking them, as funny as that is, which I love that, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to drive the message home. You almost have to think inside their head. Okay, so these people can't be fired unless they get voted out. Okay, so that's what they're worried about. Everybody's quick to diminish the power of a vote, but I mean, we had that protest in 2019. You switched positions overnight.
Yeah.
Overnight, those meetings were back on. So if you don't sell yourself short, anybody that does is a fool. Never do that.
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed, and I'm not sure if you picked up on it, though, as far as I want to say Twitter, but X, is the adding of the request a community note. I think that has changed the way they interact with us, and you're right. I think when you had the back and forth, even though it was negative, it still bumped your post up in the algorithm and kept it going and gave it an opportunity to be seen by more people. So for me, I feel like that request for community note it's great. It works for us because we get the truth out there, but I think it's hurting us as far as that interaction that we were having with those other individuals about vaping. Do you feel that that has a little bit to do with, because I haven't noticed these, I can't remember his name, but he's kind of vanished. I haven't seen too many people arguing on vape posts that much anymore on X.
Yeah, because a lot of the bunk studies disappeared because what was his name? Who was that doctor that would just come up with a new one every week? And even during COVID, he was like, "Oh my God, Stan Glantz."
Glantz.
He's gone, right? And he was like our arch enemy on that scene.
He still is. He still is.
But he's not in the same position that he was. He doesn't have the power that he once had. So at the end of the day, right, a major detractor from vaping kind of just fell off. So I mean, what are we really left with? Pave?
Yeah.
Not as loud as they once were. Campaign for tobacco-free kids? Not as well funded as they once were. So, I think both sides are kind of in the same position, more or less. Not in the same numerical position.
Right.
Regardless.
Yeah. It seems like even tobacco-free kids and some of the other advocacy anti-vaping groups that are out there, I don't even see them in my feed anymore. So it's like, did they take a break? Or did they run out of money? Is Bloomberg focusing his money elsewhere? And we all know he is. He's focusing his work on out in the UK and other nations over there.
Other nations, yeah.
Because he's figured out that I think the battle here is getting close to being done. I hope it gets closer to getting done. But I've always had that issue, Tristan. It's just like you sit there and you're trying to figure out how you can create a post, and depending on which type of Twitter account you have, on how many words you can use, that you're actually going to draw some interest from outside of our little echo chamber, and get that person to go, hey, what is this vaping? You know what I mean? I still to this day don't know how to do that. So
hashtags play a huge part, because if you go to search like something trending and the hashtag manages to take off, people live on that session. It's like, what's zesty today? Who can I upset right now? They go in that, and then they find the information therein. Now, whether they take it in or not is always going to be, dependent on the person. But a lot of people look at trending and go, why is this trending? Oh my God, they're going to do what?
Yeah. I think we share a brain trust thing, because I started doing that about 3 years ago, and I look over and I go, what's trending? Okay, how, like right now, if I look over at what's trending, Civil War, and I'm thinking to myself, how can I add vaping into this trending comment of Civil War?
There's going to be a lot less forces on both sides if they die from lung cancer. Hashtag we vape, we vote. Piss off.
Those Confederate soldiers with their vape.
Yeah, exactly. See, it kind of writes itself, and then it's still there front and center, and because they'll flip out.
Back.
Are you stupid? It's just going to keep going. They'll just keep pushing it. Yeah, that's generally the idea. It works. We have taken over a couple of live streams with that, and we actually got the two ladies, Diamond and I forget what her co-host's name was, but they were so mad because it wouldn't go away.
Hey, Peggy.
Enough of this. We vote stuff. Enough. Yeah. We're going to ban everybody that posts it. I'm like, that's like everybody watching your stream right now. What are you talking about?
Hey, everybody else does it. Might as well jump into it. It could be about hair loss, but get in there and somehow work vaping into it, man.
Exactly. Just go on and take it over. I mean, what's the harm that it could do? Constantly pushing that, and make sure the hashtags are there so that they keep getting the attraction. But it would just drive them up a wall, especially legislators. Oh God, do they hate that phrase?
All right, I'm going to ask you a question. It's a tough question. I want you to be as honest as you can.
Yeah.
I know you've been in this for a long time, as myself and Michelle. We go back, 2012, 2013. If you had to grade advocacy in vaping, what kind of grade would you give it the last 15 years?
Last 15 years? See, it's federally, C.
C.
And then the states, it would be independent, like rating on their own. Because, you got some places that are more, passionate than others. Like we stopped like 3 flavor bans here. And then it was like death by 1,000 cuts. And by the time it was done, it was like the last flavor ban when we showed up to protest it. It was like me and like 6 or 7 other people. So it's hard.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, I could be off a little bit, but there was a lot of e-liquid manufacturers out of Jersey, if I remember
Liquid
correctly.
Labs is a
Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, there's a lot.
There was a lot. I think
Yeah.
there was. Yeah, I know. It's sad. I think the first e-liquid that I became my everyday, I'll say everyday driver. I don't know if you want a other way of saying it, but it's the one that helped me get past smoking was Pat's. It was PHATH Clouds, and they were out.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, PHAT Clouds. And I think they were out of Jersey or New York, and they made a peanut butter. God damn it, I forget what it was in that damn thing, but it was one of my favorites. And I actually found it. I would have never found it because it was an East Coast company, but I found it in the Zamplebox, and I got the little 18 or 15 mil bottle. At that time, they were doing 15 mils, and I tasted it. I was hooked. I was like, "This is just amazing." And it was peanut butter, banana, custard, and something else. And I just started ordering directly through that company, and until
mine was Heather's Vapes. Don't know them. It was a little bitty mom company. She was a woman owned, and she was young, and she probably did it in her kitchen, like the rest of us did at the very beginning, and but she made 100% VG except for the carriers,
Oh, okay.
I could use it because I'm very, very, very highly sensitive to it, but I could use it. So
thank you, Peggy. All day vape. I don't know why I said all day driver, but all day vape.
That's a better one, Peggy. Thank you. She's filling in for Tim.
yeah, she's filling up for Tim, man. Yeah. No, I as far as you, like you said, the federal level, you're giving them a C. What do you think was missing from them getting a B and an A from you?
Well, personally, for me, it's getting the consumer involved because I can understand not wanting to have this having a seat at the table.
That was us. That's us,
right? No, I know that. What I'm saying is, I get that. I understand it's a lot about optics. I'm totally cool with that. But we could have been throwing federal rallies when vape was at its peak, and we would have been a force of nature.
Yes.
Like a force of nature, but no one wanted to do it. It can't be done. The logistics are wild. Man, we planned that shit on a Zoom call in my living room. Are you serious? Like that, the planning was a multi-man task, right? Not one person was going to plan this thing, but they could have collectively come together and be like, let's fuck shit up.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
I'm with you 100% because let's go way back to Whitmore in Michigan. And I felt like, where's the pushback here? And the pushback was between her and Cuomo in New York on who was going to be first. And where were we? We weren't even in the fight. And I'm thinking to myself, we got two governors that are fighting to see who's going to get to be first. And here we are sitting back. And I'm thinking to myself, hammer Michigan, hammer New York. These are two heavily populated cities that could have gotten a rally together, could have got out there and could have done something early, and put a stop to this, which caused the domino effect. You had Michigan, you had Washington, you had the other, you had Michigan, New York, Washington, Oregon. And who else was in that little mix there in the beginning? I know it was five. I know it was five. It was Michigan, New York, the state of Washington, because Zamplebox had to move out, and Oregon were the four. And I know there's one more in there. I'm not sure who it was. I want to say it was Utah, but I don't think it was Utah.
What was it? Mount Baker.
Oh yeah! Oh, that's right. Yeah. Mountain. Yeah.
I can't remember the name of them now, but yeah.
Yeah, they were another one. Yeah, and I just didn't get that. I didn't get that pushback, and it was just like and for me, it was like this flashback to 2012, where we were just like, okay, we'll agree to that, and not knowing what we just agreed to in 2012 was going to haunt us in 2025. Just simply agreeing with them to classify vaping as a tobacco product killed us.
It did.
And
everyone was so excited about that too. They're like, "We're not pharma, hooray!"
Yeah, we're gonna this is a win. And I got to see we all got to see the effects of what that caused, because we only had one vape shop in Modesto, and I walked in, and there used to be this glass case that had all these beautiful RDAs in there, had all these wires, and had all these different devices that I could buy. They were gone. The guys behind the counter couldn't make coils no more. They didn't have wire. They couldn't sell you. They weren't selling RDAs anymore. And here I was, the guy that made that transition to building. And I was like, I'm gonna save a ton of money. I could buy my cotton on Amazon. I get my wire from here, or I can have him make me coils. And I figured this is me saving me money from buying coils, a 5-pack of coils every week. So it was a shocker to me. And you're right though, Tristan. It was just like, I don't understand why we were so excited with that decision. And it was just like,
isn't that bad? Why do we sued for this?
Yeah.
Why? I get it that it pulled us out of the pharma thing at the time, but at the same time, that was the only option. I mean, it could have been, but again, I wasn't in the room,
Yeah.
I say that from the outside looking in, but at the same time, we sued for that.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think back then with what other options we really had. And I'll agree, we were backed up against the wall, and we did get left alone for a couple of years, but that also gave them time to watch us, see what we're doing. Now, did they totally, absolutely understand how this industry worked? No. Still to this day, I don't think half of these senators and congressmen know exactly how any of our systems work. And let's not even and let's not even mention the FDA and half the scientists. We know for a fact that their testing was, okay, how many watts does this mod go up to? 200. What's this coil? 50 watts max. Okay, let's put this on 200. Let's fill it up with juice and see what happens. And we got these shitty ass friggin' studies that show that all these carcinogens and all this bullshit that's in vaping, and we all know the truth. When you see people like Nick Orlando and the Florida Smoke Free Association, and you see how successful they are at what they get to do, and let's be honest, those guys are. He's out of town right now. I always check Nick's post. Where's Nick today? Nick is like Waldo. It's like, where's Waldo? Where's Nick? Where's Nick today?
But I love him. I love him.
Incredible dudes.
I'm from Florida, I'm living in Florida, so I love him.
Do you feel that playbook is sustainable in other areas of our country? And could
90%? Yeah. 100. I would say 100, but there's always some weird states got to be the exception to the rule, because why can't we have any kind of uniformity? But I'd say about 90%. I would do that. Absolutely.
Yeah. I always kid with Nick, and it's just like, hey, maybe it's time for a Nick and the Florida Smoke Free Association tour, and where you just go to these and build an allegiance. It doesn't have to be. It can be a single entity, or make one, we've talked about this, one single advocacy group that represents everybody as a whole. And, whether you're a manufacturer, a consumer, and just make it work, and just see what Nick, and I get it, Nick always, it's not easy doing what Nick does, and the rest of the people there at Smoke Free Association, they're always on top of it. They're paying attention to who's coming into office, and they're sitting down with these individuals. They're showing them the devices. They're showing them how everything works, and they're getting that information to them, whether they're listening or not. They're getting that information.
It's funny, we talk about it like, why they don't care. So that's proof that they do, because then they understand that when somebody comes up and tries to pull some tax bullshit, they're like, wait a minute, metrics of math still apply here. Volume metrics are still a thing. They don't just go away. So I forget who it was. I can't remember for the life of me. I think it was Mark Anton who was telling me about it. Or maybe it was Lindsey. I can't remember. They went and they spoke to a legislator about a tax, right? And it was a volumetric tax, tax per milliliter. And they were showing them how outrageously expensive shit was about to become if they do this. And you're not pricing it out of the realm of the consumer where they're just going to fold over and just take it. You're literally birthing a black market because you've made it unattainable, right?
You made it.
They're looking at the stuff on the shelf, looking at the ingredients sitting in their house and going, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's the goal. A lot of people don't understand this. The goal from day one was two things: death from 1,000 cuts on the state level, and federally to bleed us dry. So any compromise that we made was done under the guise of bleeding us dry. Like, remember you talking about all the hardware in the store, all the bits and bobs, right? This, most people don't know this in a retail environment. This right here, this is the end product. Once you buy this, the money's not in this. The money not isn't only in the juice, but it's in all the other things that come with it: coils, cotton, having the coils custom built for you, right? That
I miss those
experience, right? That was how shops thrived and survived, and how fights were well funded. And then as they started to go, okay, well, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. Not only did they make the industry not as profitable for shops, but they also made it more dangerous for the consumer because they banned your ability to, pass the knowledge on to them.
Pass the knowledge.
It's crazy.
But Tristan, don't you think that because of that, in some weird way, it inspired all of those shop owners that were shop owners and vapors and all that to go out and tell more people about it, because we stepped up, because the shops couldn't do it for us anymore. And I think there's so much passion out there still to this day, because every day there's a new vapor, somebody who used to smoke, who's somebody like me, 43 years of smoking, and overnight you quit.
I do it.
And you got to tell people, and you can't just do it for a week. I mean, nobody does. You do it for the entire time that you're vaping, and then afterwards, if you do quit, which I think that was a great thing, actually. And in the long scheme of things, it helped us. Kind of like today in our news, where you're seeing people and their attitudes are getting themselves in trouble because they're lying through their ass, and it's showing to everybody. So I think the news today is also going to help us, because the more people don't trust our government and our leaders and health, so I just keep looking at the news and thinking, because I keep news on all the time, because I'm never sitting down in front of the TV. And when I do, I'll listen to it and I think, man, you're just doing me a favor. Keep it up. Keep it up, because you're just stirring all that bad stuff up, and it's coming right back at you, So
no, one of the things that I picked up on early in the beginning was what they were doing as far as the federal level, and that was trying to separate us and thin us out. And it was honestly, it was virtually impossible, even for myself, to keep up with where the next lawsuit was coming from, where the next ban was coming from, and they were just bam, 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 and I got it, and Jesus, man, I haven't said their name in so long. CASA. That's sad that I just said that I haven't said their name in so long. But thank God for CASA.
Every week.
I know, but when's the last time we've actually talked about CASA? With everything, So thank God for them, just posting where all these things were happening, and letting us know. But we were so thinned out that there was no way we could have somebody show up in some small town in Rhode Island and some people over here in Louisiana or my city of Modesto, California. So they thinned us out. One of the things they did. And for me, you brought up something where you held up a tube mod, and I love tube mods, and I haven't really used my tube mods that much. They're all kind of sitting over there. I have a huge collection of TVL mods back there, and I don't.
So many mods. Because when I took a break for that time, I had to give up vaping too, because I was just trying to track what was causing all my problems.
Yeah.
And as I got back into it, I was going through my bunker and taking stuff out one at a time and going, oh my God, I remember this. Is how old? Oh my God, I got old. I had stuff.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Fallout boxes?
Yes.
I have one of those. One of those.
There was
this 8 battery behemoth out, and I went, why? It's all in parallel, big boy power battery, long.
Yeah.
And there's just some wild stuff in there. And I went to a vape shop the other day that's local to me, and he's my boy, because you got to support the locals, right? So I just went in there to get some batteries, because I ain't resurrected 3-year-old batteries. The hell with that. I'm dangerous. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, wow, the whole industry has really changed, huh? And I pulled out a stack, and he goes, what the hell is? Oh my God, I haven't seen one of those in forever. What is that?
Yeah.
Well, so it's a different place now. It's crazy.
It is. It's in a different place, and disposables are what they are. They need it. I'm not going to pretend like they're not needed. They are something that needs to be in convenience stores, and I think if it wasn't for me seeing the first device that I bought was actually made from. It was probably not made by them, but their name was on it. Was Zigzag. Zigzag had some juice in little tiny bottles, and they had a device. And that's how I got started. I said, you know what? Let me try this stupid shit, because I had the blue at first, and it kind of worked. The blue worked a little bit, but then I saw this, and then I started transitioning. And that's the one part, Tristan, I don't think they really understand how important every aspect of vaping helps you quit.
Yeah.
And the transitions that you go through in vaping. Yes, you may have started with a silicon wick if you go back that far, and you transition into buying coils from a company to where now you're actually sitting there making your own coils, changing your own cotton, doing your own thing. That was the whole part for me that helped me transition from being a 25-year smoker to a non-smoker, is because I had all those things that kept me busy, kept my hands busy. That when I first started making single coils out of 24 gauge wire, at night when I knew that was my worst, because that's when I really wanted a cigarette. Tristan, I filled a maze jar up with them. I bought 100 feet of wire, and I'm just rolling wire.
Right.
Boom.
I remember 22 gauge on stacked 3700s. Having 4 coils in there and basically fogging out an entire vape shop in one rip. And being like, this is wild. How did I get to this? This is nuts. I love this. We can compete?
Yeah. For money?
This is competitive?
I'm in.
I found my hobby, boys. We're in. Those are the good old days.
Oh, yeah.
That's another thing that really hurt us, though, is I think that not just the lack of shops and things like that being around, but also the disappearance of the community in physical format. Because that was your local meetup. It was like a motorcycle meetup. You all just roll up, and it was like, we're all here because we all do the same thing. We all love the pink clouds. Come on, let's get going. But it's not really happening anymore. And I think that's a huge component.
I shared that story I think last week or the week before, but the first convention I went to was in San Diego, and early, and I was blown away. I grew up seeing clubs. I knew what organizations were about. My parents were in Sons of Italy. There's the Elk clubs. I seen all these Knights of Columbus. I seen the unity that these groups had because I grew up in them. When I walked into that convention, my mind was like, I'm going to see a bunch of 18. At that time, you could at 18. So in my mind, I thought I was going to see 18 to 25-year-olds. When I walked into that convention, and I saw guys in their 40s, in their 50s, and in their 60s standing in booths, testing juice out. Back then, there were actually booths that had juice. It wasn't, it wasn't disposables everywhere. And they actually had hardware back then too.
Yeah.
But that took me back. I was like, whoa. I looked around because I was there taking pictures for Zamplebox, and I was like, this is insane. I'm looking around and I'm like, every generation is in this room right now, and they're all getting along because of this one product.
And they're talking to one another. They're not on their phone.
I sat there and watched a 20-year-old guy help a 65-year-old guy explain to him what a Clapton coil was. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, this would never happen with anything else out there.
No. And that's the beautiful thing about it. No gatekeeping.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the little subsects had some gatekeeping, like the MechMod community gatekeep a little bit. Because it's not like normal. You kind of got to gatekeep a little bit. For explaining to the consumer as a whole who's looking to pick out a product, it's like it's like a judgment-free thing. It's beautiful. Like, where else do you get that? You can't even buy shoes like that.
Yeah. And you're right. There was the niche group, and that kind of grew, where you had the collectors. The collectors started coming in. You started getting the mods from Italy. You started getting the mods from the UK. You started getting the mods from Russia. You had all these guys start coming in, and it got to the point where, the Philippines. Oh my God, Japan. Some of the mods that. I'm like, I used to sit there and go, do I get new tires on my car? Do I buy the
silver peel? Yeah. For me, it was the tires will hold. I'm buying that silver peel lock. Why is it made out of pure silver? Who cares? It's pure silver. Who cares?
It works.
It works. For me, and I have a lot of people who don't like this, but for me, it has to be a pretty one. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
But all these people are out there saying, well, it's colored and it has it's girly or whatever. And it's like, sorry, but that's all I'm going to use.
Hey, Jeffrey. Hey, that to me, that I remember when that happened, Michelle, because if you go back far enough, you remember everything was either chrome or black
Black or white, and then and they didn't have the white at the beginning.
White was still a little niche, but
and then when you got the egos, you started getting some colors, and it was like, hey, I could deal with this,
And the one thing that during that time that made me really proud to be part of this industry was the innovation, or in the early stages, the innovation. Just how
so quick.
It was quick, and you didn't think I wouldn't think moving an air hole in a different spot, or it was going to be that much difference, And then you had the guys you had the guys started tweaking shit. They're drilling their own holes in RDAs, and next thing
drilling out
like Tristan, I'm sure he did that.
What is this restricted nonsense?
Yeah, what is this?
Girls don't do that, though,
We're making this a big boy. This is like old days.
The names were all the names, and you just had this surgeon of innovation, and you had colors and you had style, and everything got personalized. Now it was just like you owned. Yeah, like you owned a car. You wanted it purple. You got your car painted purple.
Right.
I'm glad you mentioned car. Do you guys remember the turbo RDA with a little kazoo in it?
I remember all.
What is that?
It's like,
that was not a judgment-free moment. I judged everybody who bought one of those super hard.
I go, this is cool, but can we get rid of the winding sound?
Does it have to sound like a kazoo? This hobby in the eyes of some people is cringe enough. Do we really need to have a sousaphone here? Do we need that?
You had a lot of great companies that came out, and a lot of great mods that came out, and a lot of great RDAs, and just battery technology got better, chips got better, everything started to move along. Better. E-liquid. Yeah. I mean, e-liquid got better. I mean, I'm sure you guys all remember. I mean, Facebook was full of e-liquid companies that were selling, stuff out of their house. And these were big. There was the big names. They became big names, and everybody's like, oh no, you got to get this juice. Oh, you got to get this juice. And I'm just like, I'm like, who do you order from? But for me, I think that is the one part that I don't think these congressmen, senators, and the FDA understands that it's not just it's not just the flavors that is important to us. It's the whole process that needs for it helps everyone. Whether you're a hand, you have to have something in your hand, whether you need to see the smoke, whether you vapor. There's all these different aspects that go into helping you quit. And they just focus on that flavors. And yes, we need flavors, but Tristan brought up, a thing that I did in 2012, taking away that opportunity to buy an RDA and buy coils, buy cotton. We were fearing that they were going to start taxing coils, batteries, cotton, and I'm like thinking to myself, how do you
distinguish which is which?
I have coils in my springs in coils in my bed. Come on, they're in everything. You're going to put a tax on them just in the ear? That's crazy.
An electric stove uses resistance wire. Where are we going with this, Doc? What are we doing here?
And Tristan, let's not forget, vaping helped a lot of people with math, motherfuckers. People didn't know how to do math.
That's me. That is 100% me. What's this thing? It tells you the resistance of the two coils. I don't have to dry fire it? No.
What's Ohm's law?
Yeah. Remember all the little cartoons we had made up for people like me that were like, we know math. We don't believe in physics.
Vape math. Yeah, that's it. I loved it too. I loved it because remember it was, what was the name of the company? Steam Engine. Steam Engine had the app.
Oh, I had one.
And then Apple pulled it right after they banned, the vaping thing. Apple said, well, we're going to pull that app off our platform. And I'm thinking to myself, why would you do that? You're saving lives. You're saving lives. You don't want the guy having the wrong coil on a battery that's not going to handle that coil.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it got to the point where, and we're one of the things. I got like 10,000 things running through my mind. Sorry, but one of the things that upset me the most in the early stages was ourselves separating each other from the industry and our goal. And I've talked about this a lot on our show, but we had the websites fighting, we had the shops fighting. We had the distributors fighting. We had the manufacturers fighting. We had truck drivers fighting. And it got to the point where, look, I get it. Everybody wants something, and everyone's going to get screwed a little bit here and there. We just need to figure out all those parts of that industry should have sat down at some point in time and said, what works for us? What works for the manufacturers? What works for the websites? What works for the shops? What works for the distributors? What works for the manufacturers? We didn't do that. Instead, we separated ourselves as far as advocacy in each one of those departments. And I thought that hurt us big time, because it was just like, now we're not just fighting the federal government, we're fighting each other.
Which is exactly what they wanted.
They want it. And when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, we can't do this. We can't be fighting. Look, the websites are going to lose something. The manufacturers are going to have to lose something. But let's remember what the common goal here is, and that's to keep the e-liquid on the shelves. And that's what we should have been fighting for in the beginning. But the only problem that happened is the boom. The boom hurt us because we had a lot of people that jumped into this industry, and I know a lot of them because I've seen a lot of e-liquid and done some work for a lot of that just came in for one thing and one thing only: profit. And as soon as they got what they needed and they saw there was going to be a fight, they all took off. They all split.
Yeah.
And you had a whole bunch of them. I'm sorry to say this, my state, but you had a whole bunch of them motherfuckers in California and Washington and Oregon that just said, yeah, we don't want to fight. We don't want this battle.
We're moving on to THC now. We're going to do the same
exactly.
Shit.
Yeah.
Same
I had
shit
one
labels, same shit marketing, and we're going to fuck that industry up too. And no one's going to stop us.
Yeah, I won't mention the name of the vape company, but that's exactly what they did. Is they were out of Washington. They had a very, very popular line. I'm not going to say the name. They had a very popular flavor base. And once the fight started, they pulled out. They went down to LA. They bought a bunch of abandoned warehouses that were sitting along the harbor, and they got into hemp. And they're like, we'll move to hemp. This is the new thing. We're going to move on over
now. Yeah. And you know what's funny is that before that even happened, I said, if we don't deal with this now, it's going to bite us in the ass, and they're going to lose nothing because when shit gets real, they're going to dip out as soon as something else becomes legal. They can capitalize on it. Oh, look, there it is. Like clockwork.
Peggy, that's one of the companies. Yes, Peggy.
Which is wild because they were originally one of the good guys.
Yeah.
Like
the other one,
through responsible marketing, responsible branding, responsible everything, and then
bye. And the other one, fuck it. You know what? I don't give a shit. The other one was Liquid State. And they had a nice clean bottle.
Yeah,
they had a nice clean bottle. They had that apple butter, which was so fucking good. And I did business with that guy. I took pictures for that guy. I did pictures at his booth. I did all that stuff for them. And he would send me T-shirts, sweatshirts, all kinds of stuff. And then one day I get an email from, "We're out." That was it. We're out. I was like, seriously? You're out? You're not going to continue this battle? And they're like, no, we're out. And a lot of it had to do with, at that time, that I don't want to call it GoFundMe. I don't know exactly what it was, but there was some funding that was being drawn in for advocacy. And I know Zamplebox dumped $10,000 into that fund. And I think I'm going to hate to say his name, but Rip Trippers, he stepped in and basically had to give shit away for people to donate. You had to go donate.
Sad, ain't it?
Yeah, that upset me. And I was like, dude, this is nuts. Come on, guys, But Tristan, did you feel like that nobody believed it was going to go away? Yeah. Did you get that sense from other people outside of our circle?
It's crazy because there was like two types of people, and it's still there, right? The too big to fail, shut the fuck up, nothing's gonna happen, and I can read.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can read legislation. I understand what's coming. I can see the writing on the wall too, and I can read that. But there's no one sitting in the middle that's like, I give just a damn enough to show up. None of that. It was either die hard or
It's still kind of that way. It still
is. That's what I'm saying. It's still that way.
It is still that way. And I don't know who to blame for that, but I can't help but think that the black market has a lot to do with that because, there's you know what I mean? Because it
does here in Florida.
It's kind of still available, Tristan. You know what I mean? They can ban it.
But here's the thing, right? I brought this up when they did it. I said, "Oh, that's all fine and good. So you're going to have nicotine for what, like a year? Put it in your freezer. It's all good. Okay, great. What about when they ban the residential sale of it? Oh, that'll never happen.
Right. Yeah.
2 months later, FDA bans the government bans the sale of powdered nicotine to the regular consumer. Not nicotine, caffeine, just outright. Yeah. Kick rocks. You're not making your own energy drink. Piss off. You don't know what you're doing."
Yeah.
You think that it wouldn't be just to say farm applications and pharmaceutical? You think it wouldn't be super easy to do that? Why does the average person need access to it? Oh, I want to use an organic pesticide. Bullshit. Across the board. So then what do? You're fucked.
You're fucked. And that's what I thought was going to happen with nicotine. And I was like, okay, what's next for us? This is, maybe like 6 or 7 years ago. I'm thinking ahead. I was like, what's their next move? And I'm thinking to myself, well, they could kind of restrict who can get nicotine. And that's good. They really hadn't touched on the DIY part of our industry at that time. They were still trying to figure out what we were doing, let alone what the DIY groups were doing.
Right.
But I kept thinking to myself, that's their next move. They can't ban flavors because that's every day. Restaurants use the same flavor bases we use in our stuff.
So do candy manufacturers. That's a big one.
Yeah, candy.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, so I started thinking they could require people to have a certain type of a shop. What do they call them? I forget what
commercial and residential.
Yeah, exactly. And they have to qualify that the shop is going to meet the standards that the state requires. And who DIYer is not going to spend, $25,000, $30,000 to have the right lighting, the right, aluminum tables and fans and all this other stuff just to mix their e-liquid. So I was worried about that, and I was so glad that that wasn't really pushed. DIY can still get their stuff, and is it a little more costly? Yeah, I'm sure it's gone up in price from back in the days, but they can still, a little bit, but they can still get their stuff. But for me, it's just that's how we have to look at it. It's just like, what's next? What's their next move? And what do you believe is their next move, Tristan? I mean, you see the scope of the way things are heading right now, and it seems like we've always been that industry that takes one step forward and then we're getting take 2-3 steps back. Do you feel like their next move is going to be that move that puts us not 3 steps back, but maybe 6 or 7?
So, I mean, the way I look at it is there's multiple avenues that they can do it, right? I mean, they could just blanket deny all the PMTA stuff that people put forward, right? All their applications, and just approve the people they want to. And what is the public going to do about it? Nothing is what they think, right? That's a classic win for them right there, because in all the states that went, if you don't have a PMTA approval, you're not going to sell your stuff. Well, they're all fucked now, right? That's it. It just the whole house of cards crumbles. So then you got a couple of states that are now niche states for a niche product that nobody has any recourse to get. Like, it's not like people in Florida are going to ship out to the entire country. They can't, right? I mean, they could, but I mean, that would only fly for so long. So really, that's probably the strategy they would go with. But to counter that, at the same time, if we were successful at persuading the current administration to gut the TCA, then that really wouldn't matter. It's like, that's nice, that's cute. We're still over here, everybody's back up, right? So it can be done, right? Their next step can be thwarted. It just can't be done with people sitting on their hands. Like, it's, the big org's not coming to save you this time. It's just not going to happen. Putting blind faith in anyone right now is not going to happen. Don't put blind faith in me either, because I mean, I consider myself, the reigning champion of telling, Donald Trump to kick rocks, but I'm not perfect, right? I'm not, and I'm never going to say that I am, and I'm never going to tell people I got this, right? I don't have it. We have to have it, right? That's the only way we're going to win this is together, So what was it? Was it Gangs in New York, right? And they said, bring these 5 points together. And that's kind of how we have to be. Like, that's how we have to be.
Exactly. And I didn't think about that, but you're right. I mean, the FDA could just say, all right, we're going to just put these 5 through, and this is it. And those 5 can be their favorite 5, the big tobacco, a big tobacco company or a subsidiary of big tobacco. I never thought about that. And then just wipe out everybody else, And
I don't think they will, though. I don't that's my thought. I don't think they will. I think there's too many vapors, and I think they know that that would infuriate people. I mean, I've got people here that I live in a condo, and there's people that are military and old people that, you don't don't mess with my vape. Don't do it, because we're kind of used to it down here in Florida, but not. I mean, it's easier for us to get all the time, so therefore people rely on it more and more. And I love our old vapors. I mean, I love to look at the 70-year-olds. I can't get them to get on film. I'm trying to get their pictures, but they won't do it for me.
See,
but they're everywhere.
That's what I'm talking about, right? So with the last, I forget what I was streaming in the group, and that's what I was talking about when Lindsey came on. We have such a ridiculously large untapped potential advocacy market for on the ground action. They're retirees. Like, I work a 60-hour-a-week job, right? I still find time, so there's no excuse to not tap into that. Like, what do you mean the shit that made my life not good now? I'm not dying of lung cancer is going away. Fuck that. Point me where to go. That's something we need to capitalize on, because that is the largest standing army vape has right now. And if we don't get on the ball with that, we're fools.
And
when
then,
I
and
first started,
the other nice part, though, Tristan, as well as that group that you're talking about, that's the group that shows up to the polls.
because they're not working, Yeah.
And they actually give a shit about the issues.
Yeah,
And where you got Gen
exactly.
Z's like, I'm not voting. It doesn't help me anyway.
Yeah.
Like, all right. Then I don't want to hear you bitch about what just passed.
But I find I was doing street advocacy long before, for years before I started doing internet stuff, because it needed to be done. Nobody knew who Kasal was. Nobody knew any of that, And so I just started visiting shops, and I've lived all over the middle of the United States. So every time I'd move, I'd have new shops, and I'd go check them, and I'd still have the contacts for the other states, And so, but nowadays I don't do a whole lot of that. There's too many tourists where I live, but Walmart is wonderful, man. I'll just drive around the parking lot sometimes and just start picking, the older folks out, and I'll pull by them, and, hey man, you're vaping. That's awesome. And they look at me, and a younger person than they are, they're going to say, hey, they're talking to me, And it's easy to talk to older people. And I love this. I love to see them do that, And
they'll talk to you. They will take any interaction they can get.
Exactly. They love it, and I have been known to drop off a bag full or every now and then to rest homes, because they can't get out and get it, I mean, they don't have access. So I do it. I do it for them, when I can, just drop it off.
I gave thousands and thousands of gallons of e-liquid away. I got so much. When I was doing fun, they just kept sending it to me, and I'm like, dude, I'm one person.
Slow it down, gentlemen. My house is now a wall of gallons. Relax.
And I just did the same thing, Michelle. I was just say, hey, I see someone vaping. I just say, hey, have you tried an open? I said, have you tried an open system? No, I've been looking into it. Here's some juice, man. When you get into it, get into it. Tristan, I want to thank you for joining us. I don't know what happened to Lindsey.
It is late.
I have to go to work. We got to get you back on. I would love to pick your brain on a lot of things, especially on the advocacy side of it, and just help people better understand. For me, it's just like you talked about it. In the early days, everyone was like, "Hey, just make one phone call a week." It's 3 minutes out of your life. Do it once a week. Call the White House, and my beef was like, I would always tell everybody, pay attention to your city. Yeah. You want to pay attention. If you're too scared to deal with the federal level, pay attention to your local city. Find out who your congressmen are. Find out who your city assemblymen are. There are people that live by. Call them once a week. Find out what's going on in your city. Don't wait for you to see a Facebook post that your city is banning vaping and you had no clue. That's your fault. You should have been paying attention. So for me, I'd like to dig into your brain and see what other steps that we can do, get our voice out there. And like I said, unless we get the non-smoker on board to see our side of the story, we're going to have a hard time. And I think that's been the same way since back in 2012. A lot of people thought, I joke about this before we go. My mom introduced me to Blue. You know where she saw the Blue on? The Phil Donahue show. The Phil Donahue show. Yeah. And she's like, you got to go get this thing. You got
to do it.
Because she wanted me to quit. And she's watching the show and they're praising this thing and how amazing it is and how it's working. They had nice, clean advertisement back there, Blue, when they first came out. They had a couple. I forget the actor's name, and I tried it and it did. I quit smoking and I made, like I said, I transitioned from that to other devices to where I'm at today. Sometimes I'll grab a disposable. Sometimes I'll grab one of my open systems, a tank, or now that I see Tristan pull his tube mod out, I might have to go dust those damn things off.
Do it.
Do it.
Yeah. All right, Tristan, we'll get you back on. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everybody out there in chat.
I got an apology to everybody. I've been kind of on the phone. It's something personal, so I apologize. I didn't give y'all my full attention. I'm sorry.
Oh, man, you gave us your full attention.
Didn't even notice.
Thank you.
Tristan's information is on the header. So if you want to find the Facebook group page for United Vapors Alliance, there's also I didn't get the the True Social one though. I didn't know you were on there. I saw you post. Did you have that address or?
I can have
or did you create it yet?
Oh, it's done.
It's done. Okay. Yeah, if you got that, put it in the chat. But the Twitter one's on there. The Facebook group page is on there. You guys head on over there. If you're not following, follow Tristan. Find out what's going on. Hopefully we get another rally, and this time I'll go. But I was having a grandchild at that time, so I couldn't go. It was either grandchild.
First, always family first.
Now I have 10. It doesn't matter anymore. But Tristan will put the True Social one on there, and follow him on all the platforms, and let's all work together, and hopefully someday we can all. I can't wait to have that. I'm gonna have like this huge party where when everything is just settled, just this huge vaping party.
Just blow out the house, right?
Tristan remembers, but the Zoom calls used to get really fucking crazy, where there'd be like 300 people in there. They're just pounding and screaming at each other. That's what I would love to see. All right, Tristan. Say, everybody, look into the camera and wave goodbye. Bye, everybody.
Love y'all. Be careful. Have a great one.